Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're going to Rivington Brewing Company up there in Lancashire, is it? I suppose it is Lancashire. Must be Lancashire, yeah. Near Chorley in Lancashire. This is Monte Carlos and El Dorado. Sounds very sort of Spanishy, but it's basically it's a double dry hopped IPA brewed with, no surprise, El Dorado, but also Nelson Coya, Motueka, Brew One Lupamax, and El Dorado Cryo. Now, for me, these are some great hops. I find it quite interesting they've stuck in a, Nelson Coya. We've had a few things with Nelson, sort of different slight Nelson sounding hops. Because all the rest of the hops are very much like they're new school, old school, if that makes any sense at all. It probably doesn't. It just means that there's a sort of hops you don't see as much these days. They are new world hops, American hops. El Dorado, Brew One. They're the two hops that, I'm a big fan of, but we just don't see them as much. Brew One especially so. But both El Dorado and Brew One are very much... Well, Brew One for me is all about pineapple. And El Dorado is all about sort of a real sweet, tropical fruitiness. It's almost like it's a very difficult one to describe a type. It's not like, it's very mango, or it's very stone fruits, or it's very sort of, I don't know, or citrus or anything like that. It's very much, from my point of view, jelly tops is the best description for it. It's usually a little bit sweeter and just very fruity, really. It's just a real non-descript but really nice fruity flavour. But obviously we've got the New Zealand Nelson Coya and Motueka in there, so maybe they're holding them back a bit. But El Dorado also, as I said, I'm a big fan of this. So Rivington make great beers. This is a 7% double dry hot IPA. So I'm expecting it to pack a punch. So let's crack it open, get it in glass and see what it's all about. I mean, some of the best IPAs I've had last year were from Rivington. They do know how to make a good IPA. They do know how to make a very good double IPA. In fact, they make good pales as well, which is always... There's not many breweries that make very good pales, IPAs and double IPAs, but Rivington are one of those ones that do that. But anyway, this beer. Well, beer in a glass. We've got a very yellowy coloured beer, almost to the point of being custard, but it doesn't look quite as thick as, as what you would expect from maybe a double IPA. But it's a lovely colour yellow, very sort of pale. We've got just about 2 fingers, just off white head, loose bubble. That doesn't look like it's going to stick around too long. But let's get what the aroma's all about. Oh yeah, I mean, El Dorado. It smells just like juicy fruits. That's it. It's juicy fruits. It's like as if you took a packet of opal fruits, put all of them in your mouth. Opal fruits. Look at this and how old I sound. Starburst, I should say. And take all the different flavours, put them all together and stick them in your gob. This is what the aroma is like. It just smells, there's elements of strawberry, there's elements of orange and lemons and limes, pineapple as well. It's got lots of different aromas in there. There's got a hint there of the sort of that Nelson Coya. I don't really know what Nelson Coya is. I feel it's probably just maybe a different... There's like a farm that makes... This is what I imagine. This is a massive farm in New Zealand which is growing New Zealand Nelson soybean hops, and then they have we've slightly, I don't know what you would call it, repollinated it somehow, and it's mixed with something else to give it a different name. It's slightly different. That may be the case, or it might just be it's a liquid form or a hot pellet, slightly different pellet sort of form of it. I don't know. Let me know. Anyone knows, let me know in the comments. But anyway, we got this far in. We're 4 minutes in. I haven't even tasted it yet, so let's drink it. Cheers, everyone. Okay. That Nelson is dominating the beer. I mean, let me go through it again. We've got El Dorado, we've got Brew One and Brew One Lupamax. Oh, and El Dorado Cryo. So we've got 2 types of Brew One and 2 types of El Dorado Cryo. Of El Dorado, yeah, sorry. But the Nelson and Motueka is dominating this beer. As soon as you drink it, you get that sharp lime flavour that you get from Motueka. And you get grape and gooseberry that you get from the Nelson. A lot of the yeah, I mean, the first aroma was very much juicy fruits, but that flavour is not coming through. The Eldorado and the Brew one aren't really fighting through this beer like I thought that they would dominate it. I thought they would dominate this beer, but there's a lot more that Nelson Coya in here. Than probably you want. It's a good beer. The body is smooth. The carbonation is soft and light. I'd say it's light to medium bodied, but it's got a nice sort of smoothness in terms of the mouthfeel. But for me, I'm a little bit disappointed that all the Eldorado and all the Brew One is just really missing. You can't really get it at all. They're quite distinct, but for me, it's all about New Zealand flavours. Which isn't a bad thing, but I don't really see the point of I don't see anything that Eldorado and Brew One are doing. I'm not getting much in the way of pineapple. There's no sort of mixed tropical fruits or any of that sort of stuff. It's all about white wine, gooseberry, and lime, and that develops into a bit more grapefruit, and there's a dry sort of just a dry finish, really. I mean, as you'd expect, double dry hopped IPA. It's refreshing. It's an easy drinker. It's always great they're in a 500ml can. And I suppose, I mean, I think I've suggested this on another video fairly recently, is that the problem is that there's so much New Zealand hops in beers these days that they do start tasting the same, you know. They taste similar because there's such dominant hops like the New Zealand hops. They overwhelm beers when they're in beers. Most of the time they do. Sometimes they don't. If it's a brewery's just got it right, they don't. But unfortunately, just the nature of the hops, they're so powerful and such flavoursome hops and distinct flavours that they dominate beers. And so it gets to the point where you're drinking one IPA after another IPA, and then you're drinking double IPAs and even pale ales, and you're thinking they're all starting to taste the same. And it's not because they all have the same hops in, but they might all have some sprinkling of, you know, sometimes you'll get it and it's got Ruaka in it, sometimes it's got Motueka in it, sometimes it's got Nelson Sauvin in it. The only hop that I think is different is Nectaron, which brings a bit more tropical than all those sort of green fruit sort of flavours. But for me, it's that I want something else in there. This beer is crying out for Eldorado and Brew One to sort of say, look, here we are, remember us, remember the flavours that we brought. But they're just missing, they really are. As soon as I drink it, the Nelson Sauvin is there as that sort of grassy sort of flavour, the white wine flavour. Then that sort of develops into something more lemon, lime and grapefruit. But even those lemon, lime and grapefruits, you get those with all kinds of hops. But there's something about those flavours with the wine and the gooseberry and those sort of flavours that make them a little bit more sharper, and almost like there's a bit more bitter flavours with those sort of fruit flavours. And what it is crying out for is something to hold those sort of flavours back a bit. Something like a pineapple sort of flavour, a sweeter flavour as well, because you're getting that sweet aroma, but when you taste it, it's not as sweet as the aroma suggests it's going to be. So that's a little bit disappointing. And I think your taste buds go, oh, wait a minute, I'm not expecting this sort of flavour. So you sort of automatically say, yeah, I'm not going to enjoy this as much. I mean, it's a good beer, but for me, there's not enough of the Eldorado. There's not enough of the Brew One, and the Nelson is just over dominant in the beer. So let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for Monte Carlos and Eldorado. It is an IPA, it's 7%. a double dry hot IPA. It's not bad, but I was a little disappointed that the hops, the El Dorado and the Brew One, are not coming through on this beer. So let's go for the score. Starting with aroma, appearance, flavour, value for money. This one was £5.30, which is the higher end, I think, of an IPA, but it is a 500ml can, so you've got to take that into consideration. And then finally, my overall experience. We type the scores up. It's a recommended beer. Rivington make good beers. Total score 78 out of 100. As I said, it is a good beer, but you go into it thinking, oh, well, you know, you think about the El Dorado, the two different types of Brew One. You're expecting some of those flavours. If you, like me, I have an idea what those sort of flavours bring. And then the two New Zealand hops just over-dominate all the beer, and that just ruins it a little bit in terms of the anticipation, expectation of the beer. But if you go into it and you haven't got that expectation, you just think, oh, there's lots of hops, I'll drink that I'm not quite sure what they are, you'd probably like it, because it's got loads of flavour, and it's got soft, creamy, no, I wouldn't say creamy, but it's got soft, very easy drinking, smooth mouthfeel, which is always a good thing. But as I say, it's just too dominant on those New Zealand hops. But well, as I've said in other videos, I am getting to the point where I'm starting to try and find beers that don't have New Zealand hops, or they're not. I mean, like this one, I picked this one because I thought El Dorado, Brew One, yeah, there's going to be all of that flavours. There might be a bit of Nelson just on the back end, as it were, a bit of lime on the back end with the Mutueka. But they're at the front, middle and end of this beer, so that's why I'm a little disappointed. But I'm in 78, not to be sniffed at. Yeah, let me know what you think of tell me what you know about New Zealand hops. I think I've asked it on loads of videos, but no one's actually said what they think of New Zealand hops. I think some people have said there was someone actually recently that said that they avoid Nelson Sauvin, and I said, well, it's difficult to do that, you know. But let me know. I mean, there was a day when I started drinking craft beer. This was what 5 years ago now. It's like every beer was Citra Mosaic, and it was like, oh, is that it? Citra Mosaic. Oh no, we got Simcoe in this one as well. Citra Mosaic and Simcoe. The New Zealand hops didn't come in for a long, long time, and then when they did come in, they've just never gone away. And I'm just waiting for something new. I mean, new American hops, for example, we don't get many of them. I want to see anchovy in more beers. We don't see enough of that. Crush is one that I think is, I say crushing at the moment, but you know that it's appearing more and more and more. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just obsessing too much about hops. But let me know, what's your favourite hop? What do you think of New Zealand hops? And yeah, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Please subscribe. If you've managed to get this far, then you should be subscribing, because if you can put on me for good best part of 12 minutes, then you might as well subscribe. And until the next one, well, you know what to do. 2 things I want you to do: drink good craft beer, keep drinking good craft beer, keep away from that supermarket stuff, and keep on rocking.